Hi all. Hope you are having a good week. Sorry for the odd lighting. Sitting here at home, and I wanted to share a video. I thought this might be more helpful than if I were to send an email. So you've seen the video that was shared already for this vocation and calling paper, but I wanted to share a couple of additional thoughts to make sure that I was fully clear in what my expectation is for this assignment. So let me say one thing before I get into it. I am going to give you a little extra time. Okay, so I'll give you until Tuesday of this next week. So I'm going to give you until the 19th. Okay, so Tuesday, June 19th at midnight to turn in your paper. Okay, if you've already submitted it and you want to make some updates, then by all means feel free to do that. Okay, but I want to share a couple of additional thoughts with you. Just had a really, I thought, very encouraging, really good conversation with one of your fellow learners in the class. She asked some great questions. She made some great comments, and I thought I'm going to go share what I said, at least in part, to respond to her with the class. Okay, so remember, there's a couple of things that are going to help you with this paper. I've mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of rubrics. I'm just not. I'm going to be completely frank with you. I'm not a big fan of rubrics, but I've given you a rubric for this final assignment, or this assignment, okay, along with the final paper as well. So you're looking at 6 different areas, okay? So there's a vocational calling paper rubric, and there's points available per each section. What I need you to do is copy and paste this rubric and put it at the end of your paper, and you're going to give yourself a score. So were the insights and thoughts solid, well developed? Was there evidence that advanced critical thinking skills were used? Were the arguments and thoughts well formed, supported, and reasoned? Okay. Did the paper flow evenly? Was there a clear thesis? Was there clear direction? Was the progression did it make sense? Was it logical as far as how it kind of went from one point to the next? Was the paper did it provide clear connections between vocation and calling and the field and study of career development? Okay. Was the paper thorough? Was it complete? Was there sufficient evidence supporting your arguments, right? Was the literature, the data incorporated actually, was it enough? Was it accurate? Was it correct? Was it enough? Okay. Is the paper free from grammatical errors, spelling errors, or APA formatting errors? Okay, so let me just say this up front. I think I've mentioned this before. Please mind those little squiggly lines, whether it's purple, green, blue, red, whatever color it is going to help you tremendously in this paper. So please, please, please pay attention to the underlines because they will help your score. Okay, if you see the little lines on things, by all means, correct them, okay? Right-click on them, double-click, figure out why it's saying that there's something wrong with the spelling or the grammar or whatever it is, okay? Please, please, please do that. I can't tell you how many papers I've seen that have come through and just as many lines as I'm sure there were when you submitted it, when you hopefully proofread it, they're still in the paper when it's submitted to me. So that's this next point. Proofread your paper over and over and over again. And then the last thing, did the paper thoroughly address the assignment prompt? Okay, is it complete and thorough? So read through the assignment prompt, okay? Read it multiple times and ask yourself, did I do that? Okay, so it's a 3 to 5 page paper, okay? It's an analysis paper. So when I say analysis, if you go into the syllabus, if you get to page 6, you'll see there's the Bloom's taxonomy, okay? And it starts at the bottom of remember, then understand, then apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. And one of the things that the student that I spoke with said, and I was so grateful. So you know who you are. Thank you for this. It was so helpful to hear you say this. You said, am I analyzing or am I simply answering that I agree, or am I simply agreeing with the author? I thought, wow, that's a great insight. Because I think so often that's a big distinction. Am I analyzing the content or am I just agreeing with the content? And we want you, yes, to agree if it fits, but also to disagree, right? So in the well-being assessment report that you wrote, one of the questions was, do you agree or disagree? So it doesn't really matter whether you agree or not. I mean, I want you to talk about why. So if you agree with things, you need to say why you agree with them. If you disagree with them, why do you disagree with them? But what I should be able to see is in that agreement or disagreement, in that that writing of content, you are synthesizing, you are analyzing, right? So you're critically thinking through what is it that the author said? What do I think about it? How does it connect to everything else? Okay. So don't regurgitate, don't just agree, don't give me a book report, don't give me an overview, a synopsis. I want a critical analysis, a synthesis of papers that connects the things that we've looked at. So, and think about it this way on a spectrum, okay? So think of the class, I guess, as a continuum. We started over here, this is my hand over here, right? So with well-being. And then we came over here, and we started looking at Liptak and Anderson Van Hee, right? And now we're looking at vocation and calling, and we're continuing to move this way. So does it progress? Does it logically progress from one thing to the next? Are you talking about how well-being, how is that a foundational component to this whole thing, right? So as I was telling the student, if you were to go to this, probably any other institution really, and take a class like this, you would likely simply look at career development theories and techniques. And is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. But I don't know that you can fully get at the answer of what is ailing our clients, I guess you could say, what it is they need if we don't look at vocation and calling. So the example that the student read, The Art of Work, right, by Jeff Goins. And in there, talking about passion. What are the things that make you passionate come alive, right? So if we don't even get to that, if I just give you, hey, let's do a card sort, this technique, or if let's just look at, super, let's look at some theory. If I don't get at these questions that are like, hey, what makes you come alive? Like, what do you feel like you were put on this earth to do? If we don't have those conversations, we could talk to them until we're blue in the face about theory. We can give them all sorts of techniques, but if we're not digging deep, then we're missing on something at least. So I think we need to look at both. And in fact, let me scratch that. Not think. We need to look at both. We need to discuss, yes, I love theory. Saying Kurt Lewin, there is nothing so practical as a good theory. And I love practice. But we can't have fully informed practice without our theory. And we can't have theory, fully informed theory, without practice. You need them both. And if we miss on this element of our interests and our passions and our skill sets and all the things that come with this idea that maybe is barely, if at all, touched on in career development theory and techniques, if we miss on that, we don't get the heart of the individual. If we're looking for lifelong kind of overall well-being and human flourishing, we've got to look at vocation and calling. And if this were a class on vocation and calling, we could go super deep into that. It's not, right? So it's a class on career development. When I teach a class on vocation, I bring in career development. So it's heavy on vocation. It's lighter on career development. This is heavy on career development. This is lighter on vocation. We have to have both. And so that's what I'm looking at is, so what's the kind of foundational underpinnings with regard to well-being, okay? And let's talk about how you kind of get to connecting by way of intake and certain questions that are asked and so forth when you look at this idea of what Liptak talks about. Let's talk about vocation and calling and how it connects then to theory. But I want you to weave them together, right? I want this interconnectedness. I oversee the interdisciplinary studies program here at APU. Get into the interdisciplinarity, if you will, of career development theories and techniques and vocation and calling. Don't look at them as siloed, separate, kind of individual content pieces. Look at them as informing one another. Look at how vocation and calling informs career development and how career development informs vocation and calling. If we look at them separate, we miss, right? They're what do they call it? Just they're ships that's passing in the night. But if we look at them as influencing and informing each other, then we actually see them as working in tandem to best serve the client, okay? So it says here, please do not approach the writing of this paper without giving your response a good deal of thought, okay? One key thing to keep in mind regarding career counseling development is that the sole purpose of career counseling is not to simply help the client find a new job. There's so much more to the process, okay? The idea of vocational calling is something to consider while making this realization, all right? So there's lots of content out there. You will likely find, if you haven't already, a lot written by Ryan Duffy and Brian Dick. If you do, you're in a good spot, right? They're going to speak to a lot of these issues and connect them. So Brian Dick is actually a good friend of a good friend of mine, and so they had lots of conversations. And he looks at how does his faith, his Christian faith, inform the practice and the praxis of career development through the lens of counseling psychology, of social psychology. Brilliant mind at Colorado State University. And so he is a wonderful resource. Both of them are. They've written a number of things together, Duffy and Dick, D-I-K and D-U-F-F-Y. If you're looking for content, you'll probably find a lot of this career development, vocation, and so forth. Division 17, where Dick was, I think, for a while, the president of Division 17, specifically in vocational psychology. Okay, so if you're in that realm, you're in a good spot. So make sure that you include at least 2 outside sources, journal articles and so forth, books and whatnot, in addition to what we've looked at in the class so far. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Like I said, you have until now, instead of Sunday this weekend, you have Tuesday, hear me, at midnight. So again, the 19th of June is when you have to turn things in. June 19th at midnight to get this paper in. So that's an additional 2 days. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, have a great time writing it. Try and stay away from superfluous words, unnecessary. Don't give me fluff. Don't give me a bunch of filler. Don't try not to write in first person a lot. Try to write more technical, academic, and in that have just a ton of fun with it. Okay, I'm working diligently to get everything back to you as far as grades go this evening. Okay, I know I talked to another student today. So grateful for this conversation as well, and we're just saying that, man, we've been conditioned that grades are everything. So I understand that, and my apologies that I kind of operate on a bit of a different wavelength when it comes to grades, but I'm going to get those into you. If you are caught up, just know a lot of this is did you do the work, right? Did you do what was asked of you and so forth? And you should be in pretty good spot. So again, have fun with this. That's a big thing for me. Yes, there's a rubric. Yes, there's some points attached to it, but please have fun with this paper. It's a fun paper to think about. It's a fun paper to write. And believe me, when I get that student that's like, oh, I get it, it's together. It is such a fun paper to read. So I look forward to reading a lot of fun papers in the days ahead. All right? Have a great weekend. Enjoy those extra 2 days to get the paper in, and we will see you online real soon.